The afterlife, heaven, hell, the hereafter, paradise, or Valhalla. I'm taking a look into what happens, or better, what some people think happens after you die. Now, from a historical perspective, our belief in the afterlife has been with us for as long as we can remember. And there are those who claim there's some evidence that even pre-humans, and for those that do not know, pre-humans are those species that came before you and I stepped out of the house to take a look around. It is thought that pre-humans believed in some sort of afterlife, and is evidenced by them burying their dead with artifacts, along with evidence of ritual, like having a funeral for the dearly departed. The exact time and day that some human thought up the concept of the afterlife, that's lost to the sands of history, but the first written thoughts on the afterlife can be traced back some 4,000 years ago, where the author of the Epic of Gilgamesh wrote about a dark, shadowy underworld where the dead dwelled. In ancient Greek culture, they believed in Hades. Hades was a shadow world, a world where most of the living continued to live as shades or spirits. I said most, because if you were virtuous, as in living a worthy life, you ended up in Elysium, a world of blissful existence, kind of like heaven. But the Greeks also had Tartarus, a world for those who had committed terrible, horrible crimes, like hell, along with the Asphodel Meadows, where those people who were neither good or bad went to live, and in those green meadows you eventually forgot all about who you were and the life you once lived. So if you're now wondering where the concept for our current Christian beliefs in the afterlife originated from, look no further than the ancient Mesopotamians and Greeks. And I know you wanted to move on and get to the good stuff like proof that when you die, you're actually still going to be around. But first, we got to ask ourselves, why? Why do we believe in an afterlife? And yeah, I'm aware not everybody believes in heaven, hell, or any other kind of afterlife, but I am guessing if those people woke up somewhere or anywhere after they took their last human breath, they might let loose a little smile. But then again, maybe not. On a personal level, I believe if there is no afterlife, what's the point in life? In other words, there has to be more meaning to our existence than what we humans give it. But that's just my opinion, and we all know what everyone thinks about my opinions. This then leads us to the evidence of an afterlife. And there are some out there, but so you know, there is no actual agreed on scientific proof of any kind of afterlife, despite being mentioned in religions all over the world. What we do have is near-death experiences. People who have died experience some kind of afterlife while clinically dead and then return to their original lives. And when it comes to how often people who die have such experiences, well, that is about 5% of the general population, unless you die while having a heart attack. Then that number jumps to somewhere between 15 to 20, and that increase is thought to be due to some kind of unique brain activity that happens when one has a heart attack. And for those who have experienced a near-death experience, there have been some similarities in their experience. First and foremost, there's an out-of-body experience, which just makes sense because, your body ain't going to make it to the afterlife. There's also a sense of peace and well-being, a bright light that often shows up, along with meeting old friends and lost loved ones. And of course, there is some kind of life review or judgment of sorts. Of course, while most near-death experiences are positive, there are those who haven't had a blissful time in their experience of dying. Percentages of those who have experienced a near-death experience range anywhere from 1% to as high as 22%, and those experiences include negative emotions, isolation and loneliness, estrangement from family and friends, and some even report some kind of torment and hellish experience. And I'll let you come to your own conclusions as to what that all means. whatever your views are on the afterlife, the bottom line is, you and I, we're still breathing. I'm thinking we should stop worrying about what comes next and enjoy this life. Mostly, though, I say that because when we do get whatever life is waiting for us after we leave this one in the dust, there's just going to be another set of questions to ask. So my advice is to just stop worrying and enjoy what you got now. And here's to our afterlife, my friends. Oh, that was a tough one to get down. Whew. Okay, I'm fine. I'm okay. Question about the afterlife. So you die and you wake up in heaven. But what if it's really the Asphodel Meadows, where you lose all the memories of who you were as a human being? So you start asking questions. What happens after this life? Maybe you end up going back to being a human. I don't know. But the one truth there is about the afterlife is you get so many years past your birth and you start spending a lot of time thinking about it. And I got fewer days ahead of me, you know. So, yeah, this is an interesting video. And I just, interesting because I'm not worried about it. But I do spend some time thinking more about the afterlife than I used to. And it's like, hmm, huh. Okay. I'm just heeing and hawing, ain't I? So I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope you enjoyed it enough to share it with somebody and maybe even subscribe to my channel. I hope you at least gave it a thumbs up. Please? Okay, I'm begging, and that means I should go. Peace, my friends. Take care and have a good day, because I am outie.